Good day, good day. Thanks for joining me on today. Let's get my mic in front of me. Welcome to my podcast. Today, we're talking about the choice is yours. So, I want to talk about the choices today because this is something that's been all over social media the past week. And I thought it was a good time for us to talk about it. My name is Deb Howard. I'm your abundant life coach. And so, what I want to talk about, the choice is yours, right? Because over the last few weeks, we've been talking a lot about goals, and goals are really choices. They really are. And so, with all of the scuttlebutt that's been in the news lately, do you remember when we used to use that word scuttlebutt? Or maybe only my family used that word. Anyway, with all of the news, right? The things that have been going on in the news and social media, specifically on how we choose to spend our money. See, over this weekend, and like I said, really over the past week, there's been a lot of buzz around companies that are stepping back and rethinking their DEI programs. Specifically, companies like Target, Walmart, of course, Sam's Club. I've heard Home Depot, McDonald's, just to name a few. As a minority who might be directly affected by these changes, there's been a lot of discussion about it, not only in our community, but even in my own household, about how we can make our voices heard. And that's a question. One of the strategies that people are talking about is boycotting. We've heard calls to boycott Walmart, Target, and really any business that has made the decision to roll back their DEI efforts. You may have heard many people are suggesting that we only shop at places like Costco, um, because they have definitely made a statement by saying they won't be rolling back their programs. Now, this idea has gained some momentum, but there's another option that also has come up. It's more about targeted spending. You see, some have suggested that instead of completely boycotting places like Target, for example, who sell Black owned products, that maybe if you are going to shop at those places, that you only purchase products from minority owned companies or Black owned companies. Very interesting. And that's really what got me to thinking about this. Now, the idea really gained momentum after Tabitha Brown, social media influencer, made a video that has went viral, basically sharing her concerns because some of her products are sold at Target, regarding a complete boycott. I think it's very interesting because what we see are a lot of conflicting and aligning even opinions about how our money can make a statement. Ah, wow. So that, I mean, that really got me got me thinking, y'all. I was like, because this is a message that I think we don't always realize we're making when we spend money. The power of choice. I mean, gosh, we have so much power in how we spend our money. But I want you to think about something else right now, because where we spend our money is important, but it's just as important in our personal finances, in how it affects us. The message that we are telling with our money that directly affects us. Now, the discussion has been about how we can impact businesses by making a different choice regarding how we spend our money. And truly, you can tell the vendor a story, right? You can tell businesses a story about how you feel, depending on how you spend your money. But think about for a minute your personal budget. We all have bills. But if we truly examine our priorities, we might realize that some of our obligations aren't as mandatory as we think. If You're saving, for example, for something bigger. If you have a bigger purpose, sometimes we allow what we really want to be pushed to the side because we tell ourselves a story. We tell ourselves that, hey, I don't have the money for that. Hey, I'm never going to have the money for that. That costs too much. Instead of really setting a goal to make an impact in your own life. Come on now. Look, I'm getting excited about this conversation. Wow. I mean, have you thought about that? That your money can make an impact in your own life? I think sometimes we just think that we are trapped when indeed it's a choice. We are making choices each and every day. If you're saving, for example, or if your goal, let me put it that way, if your goal maybe is to retire early or to buy a vacation home, or maybe it's to buy some car that you've always wanted, you start making choices when you have a goal to get to that target, right? To get to the place that you're going to get to. Of course, it means evaluating what it is that how much you need and all of that. But you might look at your spending plan, right? Your budget, and say, you know what? I can make some different choices in some of these areas. I can make some different choices about all the subscriptions that I currently have. And many times we think that those small subscriptions don't add up to much. Oh, that's not going to really matter. But every dollar matters. Especially those of us who are believers. Come on now. Every dollar matters because we are stewards. Oh, let me get back to the point here. So so I want you to think about it, and I want you to think about what different choices you can make. What different story can you tell with your money? Is your money saying that, hey, I don't have a purpose, I don't have any goals? Is your money saying that I believe I can never do better than today? Is your money saying, come on, what is it saying? On a bigger scale, this is exactly what's happening with these companies, right? That I mentioned. The African American community in particular is we are a massive consumer block in the United States. And retailers know this. We spend, oh my gosh, millions, maybe even $1 trillion each year. Right. And so they definitely want our dollars. These companies definitely want our dollars. But if we keep spending as usual, at places like maybe Target or Walmart or whatever, right, you deem, right, you shouldn't get your dollars. If you keep spending your money at companies that don't align with your values, let me put it that way, then those companies will never feel the financial repercussions of that. And if they never feel the financial repercussions, then they have no motive, right? They have no reason to look any further about the choices that they've made. Because the choice you make can impact the choice that they make. If they don't feel a drop in revenue, right, they have no reason to change anything. But if they do feel that drop in revenue, if they do start noticing different buying patterns, right, they have to look at the data. I'm not saying they'll immediately think it's because of a boycott, but they will look at the data and they will be able to figure out pretty quick where the drop is coming from. So let's bring it to you as an individual. How you spend your money should send a message about who you are and what you value. Yes, what you value. If you spend, and this is a good example, if you spend $1,500 a month on a car note, we know what you value, right? I've seen people have beautiful cars. Huge, I mean, just beautiful. And I'm probably not exaggerating. They're probably spending somewhere around that $1,200-$1,500 a month car note and live in an apartment. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But what that says is I value, right, this car. I'm spending a good portion of my money on this. So that's what I value. And vice versa. Right. If you have a lower cost car, and have a beautiful home, then what we are going to see is that, or what we're going to assume is that you value that home. And that can go for anything, right? If you spend money, a lot of money on whatever you spend a lot of money on, right? That tells a story. And what you don't spend money on also tells a story. So I want you to think about that. I remember when my kids were growing up, there were times, and I know they hated this, when I had to say no to things. I was a single parent. I just didn't have the money. And you guys know as kids don't understand it, right? They don't have any concept really, especially when they're young, about where money comes from, how you get it. All they know is I want this, right? But how I spent my money, even as they were children, told a story, right? I spent money on necessities. I spent money on making sure we kept a roof over our head, transportation, clothes, etc. Not to say they didn't get any other things, but that is where the bulk of my money had to go because that is what I valued, us having a home, us having transportation to go so I could take them where they needed to go so that I could go where I needed to go, right? So ask yourself, what story is my money telling? Is it supporting my future goals or undercutting them? Is it aligned with my values or is it contradicting them? I'm not telling you what your values are. You have to determine that. You have to determine what's important, even when it comes to this community conversation that we're having. You have to determine what's important to you. You have to do your own research and listen. Side note, I encourage you to do your own research, even when it comes to these companies that are rolling back DEI programs. Do your own research. There's a lot of information on social media, so just do your own research. So my final thought around this, I find, listen, the conversation about boycotting and targeted spending so fascinating because it highlights just how powerful our money truly is and the choices that we make with it. It is powerful. Our dreams for society, for our goals. Listen, every choice we make with every dollar we have, right? It's telling a story. So let me know what you think. Have you found yourself reevaluating your own spending in light of these companies' decisions? Right? We've been talking about the boycotting, targeted spending, how these retailers have made some different choices lately. What do you think about it? And I'm really interested in knowing, are you planning to boycott? Or are you planning to target your spending more? Be more intentional about who you spend your money with. So important. And more important than that is really thinking about how you spend your money. Are you being intentional? Does my overall spending align with my own goals and values, my own dreams, the things that I really want, my own purpose, the things that I really want to accomplish? Does the money that I'm spending align with that? Ooh, remember, money isn't just about bills and a budget now. Come on now. And I like talking about spending plans. It's about making a statement. And that's really what I wanted you to walk away with today. That how you spend your money tells a story. It's telling a story about who you are, what you value. And if you're not intentional about that spending, then you are not controlling the narrative, right? I know you've heard that term in the news. So you want to control the narrative about your life, but you also want to make sure that my spending reflects, what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And when I really think about my values and what I'm trying to accomplish, and that's why it's important to have a spending plan so that you can look at it, right? So that you can identify where your money is going, right? If you don't do that, then you very likely aren't being very intentional. I mean, that's just the truth, right? If you're not reviewing your spending on a regular basis, you are not being intentional. I can promise you that. You are spending money and more money in areas than you think. I'm always um, get a little chuckle when I'm talking to a client and I start asking those questions. How much do you spend on eating out? People are always surprised. They always give some, $100 a week of, maybe a few hundred a month. They're always surprised at how much they spend just in that one area because we're not paying attention and we're not being intentional. right? And so today, the choice is yours. As you're having this discussion, as a community, as we're having this discussion in the minority community about boycotting, targeted spending, DEI programs, all this stuff, I really want you to take this opportunity to also look at how you are spending overall. And does that align with my goals and values? Does that align with what I'm trying to do with my life at this point? Does that align with where it needs to go? Right? And make different choices because the choice is yours. All right. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy today's episode, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Subscribe, right? Like this video, share it, comment. Look, let me know what you think. I am so interested. What do you think about this whole conversation? All right. So until next time, listen, you already know what I'm going to say. Go have your most abundant day.